Hey folks, Alan here out in Los Angeles for a few days. What you see behind me that looks like an industrial park is actually Fox Studios. All the stages are, I don't know how many there are, probably 30 or 40 or something like that. Pretty massive installation. Anyway, just wanted to share a few messages with you. I was thinking about this on the plane over here. I just recently posted a project that I was involved in way back called the Faith Quest Nasty Hockey Show, and one of the guys that was on the show kind of commented that we were really ahead of our time, and I kind of thought, man, sometimes timing's a real bitch. So a few stories to share with you, and there's going to be more text down below with a bit more detail. Anyway, I'm going to take a sip of my Athletic Greens juice, something that I travel with all the time. They're not a sponsor. It's just something I do to avoid getting sick. All right, so you ever driving down the road and you see those street lights? They're kind of like in the shape of a cobra head. They're actually called cobra heads, believe it or not. And way back, I had just quit my job and was with a VC company looking at new startups and was going to be starting my own. And I was kind of driving along the highway and saw these lights, and some of them, it was daylight, and some of them were on, some of them were off. I thought, that's kind of strange. I always kind of figured they'd be on some kind of a centralized timer. And curious guy that I am, I called the city. I found out who the expert was. Apparently, there are 50,000 of those types of streetlights in Ottawa, by the way, so quite a few of them. And he said, no, they're not on a timer. They're actually on a light sensor. They used to be on a timer where the power was all centralized and they would just shut off whole grids. But now they're on a sensor, and the sensor kind of sits right on top of the light. So if you're driving by, you'll see kind of like a little canister. And sometimes those break down. Sometimes they get wet after a big rain, and that'll block the light, and it'll turn the light on even when it shouldn't. So I thought, that's kind of interesting. So I went to the warehouse and talked one of the guys into giving me a few models of those, and I took them home, reverse engineered them completely, and I figured out how to build a wireless repeater into those things. So basically, you can use street lights that always have power going to them. Now that I knew that, to build Wi-Fi extenders, to extend cellular services, to put out sensors that sense traffic. I'd figured out how to put cameras on it and so on, and kind of toyed around with that for a bit with a few other guys. And I thought it was a pretty cool idea. In the end, raising money around that time was really difficult. It was like 2006, 2007. Raising money for a hardware company was pretty brutal. So I kind of shelved it, and I just, sometimes I wonder and think back what it would have been if I kind of stuck to that, because I knew people were going to be carrying cell phones around and smartphones, and people would need wireless all over the place, and it's still pretty spotty today. So, hey, maybe that's still a good solution. So that was kind of one thing that I kind of parked, and I wonder, what if I kind of stuck with that? So that's after that one, really got going into mobile. Actually, just before mobile, really was web, but it was always with a vision to go mobile. And Facebook had just opened up their platform for apps, and so we had a contract to develop a really cool Facebook app with a pretty big media company in Canada. So I thought, before we build that, we got to build an audience. I think people love to talk about sports. And what if we did something to kind of test that out, get the crowd going, and build an audience for a series of products that we would put out around sports? So it was a local bar that had just opened up called Filthy McNasty's, which is it's closed now. It's a pretty stupid name for a bar restaurant, but it was pretty cool for us. It was perfect. We went to the owner and we said, hey, could we run basically a hockey show here where people can ask questions, and it's just shot live and posted on the internet, and basically for a bar tab of, I think it was like $150 and $100 cash, we started doing that every week. And keep in mind, this was probably 2007, 2008, so Facebook was really young, YouTube was really young. Like, it was kind of a crazy thing to do. And we were building that show out almost every week, especially when there were local games. So there was a big crowd in the building there. We had Lee McGuire, who was a pretty well-known personality on radio and TV in the hockey space. We got my brother-in-law, who's a huge sports nut and got the gift of the gab, and we really had a good go at that. You know, the viewership was growing every time, and you know, at the end of the day, the restaurant bar closed, and it kind of fizzled out. We didn't really find another place, but you know, that's another thing that I'm wondering. You know, content. You know, people are making money on YouTube now. There would have been a lot of learnings already, but it kind of fizzled out, and I'm getting back at it now with all this video. The third one was really running apps.